Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brew It or Screw It, a Magic Commander podcast. I'm your host, Cody, alongside my good friend, Lazz.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing today, Lazz?
I'm doing good. A little nervous, but I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah, we're it's been a minute since I've done a podcast. It's been a while since you've done a podcast.
A couple of years, yeah. A little problematic podcast. I had to scrub it from the internet.
Oh yeah. But we decided a few weeks ago, we were like, hey, let's do a podcast about Magic. We love talking about it in our text threads, so why not do something and put it out there for people to enjoy?
Yeah, well, it's definitely better than just you and me sending deck ideas to each other nonstop throughout the day. With maybe other people would be just as interested as Cody and I are about discussing all this stuff.
Yeah. So Brew It or Screw It is a deck building focused podcast. We are going to once a month sit down and one of us is going to bring a deck that we've been interested in, but we're unsure of if we would enjoy playing it. We'll have like a couple segments where we go over the cards in the deck. One of us will recommend cards. We'll look at some data on like what the average deck runs from EDH Rec. And ultimately in the end, we'll ask the question, should we brew it or say screw it? And we'll have some like listener interaction where you can write in and tell us, do you think we should brew it? Is this a deck you're going to brew? And I think the plan is for the end of the year, we're going to sit down and pick our favorite decks that we said brew it to and build it.
Yeah, I think so. So who would you say this show is for? I think I know who this show is for. Who would you say you think it's for?
I think this podcast is mainly going to be focused for people who like are either new to Magic, who want to like get ideas for deck building, or just people who are insane like us and build 20 decks a day in their head, and wanted to get it out there for other people to give feedback on.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm kind of in line a lot with the second one. I know me, whenever I start thinking about a commander, I'll start looking up some decks, but usually the first thing I do is I Google that commander name and I look at every single YouTube video I can of people that have played that in games. I look at any deck tech videos I've seen for that commander, or I'll look for a podcast that happens to have that commander in the in the hashtags there or whatever, to see if they're talking about it. Because before I commit, building a deck is a big commitment. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of money. So if you're going to build something, you kind of want to make sure it's going to do what you want it to do. So I like to kind of research as much as possible, and then I'm hoping that a podcast like this, that someone could say, I've been also thinking about building a old stick fingers deck. Let me see what they were talking about it, and kind of going over strengths, weaknesses, what the deck's good at, what kind of threats against the deck, and maybe if there's just a better commander in the same colors that do the same thing. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. People might like about this.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think something I really enjoy is like my favorite thing to do when I'm looking at a commander is I go to Reddit and I search like the EDH Reddit, and I'm like, well, hey, what is everyone writing about this commander? And I love seeing the different ideas that people have, and so I think this could be a podcast where people see a different idea for a commander, and I love that. That's what I love to see. So I think other people will enjoy it as well.
Yeah, and sometimes there's a commander that you really like, whether it's something as silly as, well, I really like the card art of this card, but I hate that play style. I hate what this card's telling me to do. And that's, I think, something else that we're also going to go over is, a commander that can kind of change a couple of the cards that we recommend, and just with a couple of switches kind of change the whole play style. Maybe you don't want to do a self-mill deck. Maybe there's a way to turn that into a dredge deck that doesn't really focus too much on self-milling. Who knows? There's possibilities out there for what you could do, and that's kind of, we're hoping that whenever you just search, hey, I want to make an Animar deck, and you look up this podcast, and we can kind of hopefully have answered all your questions about what the deck can do, what changes you can make to it, and whether it seems interesting or not.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's the general idea of the podcast, and I'm looking forward to it. I know Lazz is as well. I guess it'd be important to talk about our start with Magic, and mine is much more recent, so I'll go first. So I've been playing card games my entire life. I started with Yu-Gi-Oh! I played Hearthstone. I played a couple other things here and there. But I really dived deep into Magic and Commander, especially in October, because I reached out to you, Lazz, and was like, hey, y'all play Magic, right? Because I was at a time in my life where I was like, I want a hobby. I want to get back into card games.
I have
but like,
too much money on my hands. What am I
I
going to
have too
do?
much money. And you were like, yeah, we play Commander on Spell Table. And so I went and I bought a precon on Amazon. And I think it was, that first game I played, I was like, I'm in. This is fun. I like this.
Yeah.
Commander's just a really nice format, I think, for, like, it's just fun to hang. Like, we get salty sometimes, but who
Some
doesn't
more
in
than
a
others,
game?
yeah.
Some more than others. But, like, 4 players, people just hanging out, having fun, shooting the shit. Like, it's a good time. And so, yeah, I've been playing. It's been since October that I've been playing. I've put a lot of money into this hobby because when I dive into a hobby, I dive in hard.
Head first, dive in.
Head first.
And how many decks do you have in the 5 months you've been playing?
I've currently only have 4 or 5 if you count the pre-con from Phyrexian one I just bought that I'm not really playing. I think in total I'm up to like 6 or 7 that I've technically built and played, at least for a couple of games.
Mm-hmm. So you're averaging, let's say, a deck and a half a month.
Yeah, which this podcast will be good for that because I've kind of realized, hey, I can't constantly be building decks.
Yeah,
like
it's a commitment.
Now
it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I made a rule of myself that I can buy a deck every other month. So like I built a deck I'll talk about in a second in January. So I can't build another deck until March, and that's kind of been my rule to keep myself not dropping $200 to $300 every month.
Good plan.
Good plan. Yeah. But yeah, I love Commander. I think it's a fun format. I love seeing all the new stuff coming out for it. I know a lot of people have burnout, but for me as a new player, I'm like, give me it all.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. But as you've been playing Magic for a lot longer than me, so
it hasn't even
pass it over to
been
you.
that much longer. But let's see, it was a cold November evening back, and I started playing. Let's see, I used to play when I was much younger. Maybe like 25 years ago or something. When it first had started coming out, my cousins would play, my brother played, and I was too young to really fully grasp the idea. But man, I loved collecting those cards. Loved collecting those cards, the Marvel trading cards, whatever the case. So that was kind of my first introduction to Magic, and then it kind of, stopped playing that when Pogs and Yo-Yos became popular, and Magic fell by the wayside. But then I'd say a couple years ago when Hearthstone first came out, I started playing that, and I was just really enjoying it. It was kind of my first exposure to card games, but with deck building capabilities of, I really want my deck to do this. I remember the first time playing Hearthstone that someone milled me out, and I was like yelling at my screen, like, stop making me draw cards. I don't have any cards left. And it wasn't until I died I was like, oh, you know what? That was probably what they were going for. Yeah. And so I got hooked into Hearthstone, and I was playing that decent amount, and it was just kind of annoying spending money on digital cards and not really being able to play against any of my friends, or not being able to play against groups of friends, or whatever the case. Yeah. And then my good buddy Nick, he messaged me one day. He's like, "Oh, I bought a Magic Precon. I saw it in the store. I figured I'd try it for this mode called Commander." Like, all right, I'm in. I'll buy one too. And after that, it was just kind of just fell in love with it. I play video games a lot, and kind of what I always go for in video games is, a build. I love builds in video, Borderlands, Destiny, whatever the case. I love a build. And once I started getting into Commander, it was kind of like, this is kind of just making a build. It's taking one card, and then you have 99 cards to make this one card broken. Make this one card do whatever you want. and it fascinated me right away, and it still fascinates me now. Whenever I see a new commander, it's kind of just I have 99 cards to make this absolutely broken or absolutely crazy interaction that could happen, and that I've been hooked ever since. So maybe 3 years, 4 years? I'd say maybe 3 years playing Commander, and then once the pandemic happened and Spell Table kind of blew up, then after that, just playing multiple times a week, multiple times a night, just kind of got a lot more. It's just Spell Table makes everything so much easier because it's a hassle to get everybody in person, and playing with strangers at game stores is not really my thing. So yeah, that's kind of my start and where I'm currently at.
Yeah, and Spell Table's been a huge help because like I live in the South and you live in the North, and so like
we've actually never met each other before.
We've never met in person.
We've been playing.
Hopefully, gonna change that.
Yeah, we'll see. You have to come on up. I came down to visit, and you just kind of ghosted me. It was fun.
Oh, okay, all right.
But no, it's great. The Spell Table is absolutely great because it's just you get to play with people that you would never get a chance to play with. That's just really how it goes.
Yeah, I think I've gone to like a local shop to buy cards and stuff. But I've only gone to play like once or twice, and then one of the times I didn't even get to play because there's no one available. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just go home and play on Spell Table with the boys.
Yeah.
So
now the only times I played in were I tried to go to the shop to just buy a pre-release set or something, and our buddy Creeps is a lot more personable than I am, so he got there first, and when I walk in, he's talking to like 10 people. He's like, oh yeah, they're playing Commander tonight. I signed you up. Like, why? He's like, I don't know, it's fun. I'm like, I'm not playing Commander with random people. It's like, oh, it's free. Don't worry about it. And we played. It was a good time. But it's nicer to sit at home in comfy clothes in front of a computer instead of going out till 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday nights sometimes.
Yeah. I had a great time. I played in like a 3-person pod, and we played until like one in the morning as well. And I was just like, it was fun. And I haven't had a chance to go back. I would like to go back, just haven't had a chance to. But yeah, but I guess it's like what also would be important to like let people know is like the kind of decks we play and our play styles and kind of the group meta we're in, so people know like, well, hey, when like this is how we're building this deck because this is what we think would work in the meta we play in, or what we want to try in the meta we play in. Lazz, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, here's the thing. Cody, would you describe yourself as a good deck builder? Do you think you're good at building decks?
I think I'm decent at deck building. I think I want to keep getting better and better, and so that's another hope for this start I have is that like I will start to see. I think something I like run into is I put a lot of cool cards in the deck, but I don't look at like how much card draw I have. I don't look at my ramp very well. I'm more like, what's the flashiest thing I can put in this fucking deck right now?
Cards.
Yeah. And so I hope that while we do this, we can like learn from each other and like, build better decks.
Oh, I hope so too, because I do not consider myself a good deck builder at all. I try, and like you said, I hope to get better with this, and the way you get better at anything is by doing it more and more. So we'll kind of be doing that with this. But problem with my decks is I tend to fall into a very similar pattern. We wrote down some of our decks here to talk about that currently play. So let's see, I have Giada, which is mono white angels. I have Animar, which is elemental tribal. Edgar Markov, vampire tribal. I have a partner Crom and a Chroma deck, it's keyword tribal. I have a Volo deck, no tribal. So I have a very, very distinct playstyle that I really enjoy. It's tribal. It's just I don't know. I love just grouping all types of creatures together, or even like the keyword tribal deck. The creatures aren't the same, but as much word soup as you can get on a card. Let's throw them all together, and that's kind of my play style. I like when all the cards synergize with each other, and that's kind of to a fault sometimes, because kind of like you were mentioning before, it kind of It prevents you from looking at things like, do I have enough card draw? Do I have enough interaction? Do I have enough ramp or anything like that? Instead of, man, this is a real sweet elemental. What land card am I going to cut from this deck to put into Animar? Which you should never do. Don't cut lands. I've learned that the hard way many times.
You can cut one.
No,
land.
You can't cut that one land because when you're sitting there, what we played the other night, what'd I have? It was like turn 8, and I was still sitting at 3 mana.
Oh, yeah, you're playing the deck you did not mention. Your rat tribal
mono
deck.
black rat tribal deck. Shocker.
Yeah.
So, but
and you had milled all your lands. So, like, yeah, we were on turn 8, and I was like, you got 3 lands over there, bud? What's happening?
Yeah, I bought a Crucible of the Worlds. It should be here tomorrow, so I can play all those land cards from my graveyard. But that's kind of that's what a lot of deck building is building a deck, playing it, and then saying, all right, I really effed this up. I gotta add this, I gotta add this, I gotta add this, and it's a lot of trial and error. So but that's kind of my play style. Lots of tribal things, and I have a couple of decks that aren't tribal. They're not as much fun, I don't think. I don't like to play blue a lot because I hate counter spells, and I figure if I don't counterspell my pod, maybe they won't counterspell me. It has not worked out.
I'll say I don't think that's worked out.
It hasn't, but it's a process, and we'll see. I think everyone's getting there. Cut some of those counter spells out.
I've definitely stopped running as much blue, so I mean, hey, I'm working with you.
Everyone could. At this point, it's just everyone can do what they want because it's I play a lot of fighting games on PlayStation and stuff, a lot of Street Fighter and things like that, and sometimes you play against someone that just does the same move over and over and over and over again, and if they beat you, it's not like, oh well, they're real bad, they kept doing one move. It's like, well, you're kind of bad because they kept doing the same thing, you knew what was coming, and you still couldn't adjust and play around it. And it's kind of the same thing with Magic, where all right, they have open mana, so let's not play this banger of a card that is going to win me the game, because chances are they got some garbage in their hand that they're just waiting to screw me up. So it's you gotta kind of alter your play style. So how about you though? What would you say your play style is, or your deck style?
I think what people would describe me as is a Timmy player. I like big things and I like hitting hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a Miram Dragon Tribal deck, which I don't play as much, mainly because I really love mono and 2-color decks. I feel like that's my niche.
Mm-hmm.
I play those really well. And once we get into 3-color territory, I'm like iffy on, because I never feel like I have the right lands and things like that. But this was technically the first deck I built, which we'll go over later. It's changed a lot.
Yes.
And I'm finally back on Miram Dragon Tribal.
I didn't even know that you brought it back to Miram, because
I did.
It started as Miram, then it went to Tiamat, then it went to Joda,
and now it's back to Miram.
Okay.
Yeah, because going to 5 colors was a mistake for someone who hates color correcting.
See, I feel like 3 colors is the sweet spot. I really like 3-color decks. You got enough access to, removal, ramp, card draw. You can kind of find a sweet balance between all of those with 3-color. I have 2 mono-colored, or no, I guess I have 3 mono-colored decks, and every time I'm looking for cards to add, it's like, if I just splashed a little bit of white in here, I'd be able to fix up my deck.
Then I have 2 precons I've upgraded. I have the Necron from Warhammer 40k precons. It's a mono black artifacts that I've really been liking lately. I think this is kind of different than my other playstyles, because it's just about kind of like graveyard recursion, which Lazz and I have been texting a lot about lately, because I want to build a full-on reanimator deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a Faldorn, the Dreadwolf Herald, which is just exiling things to make wolf tokens, play the exiles things. Gruul goodness. Gruul is like my favorite color pairing. I think my most recent deck I built was Lightpaw of Ultron. I'm iffy on it at the moment. I think I need to do some upgrades.
Lightpaws is good, but I told you when you started building that deck, and you listen to our other friend instead of me, I said mono white is tricky. It really is. And we're not like every other person online that's, oh, mono white's garbage, mono white's unusable. I didn't think that was the case a couple of years ago, and it's most definitely not the case now with all the support that white's getting. But even with all that, it's hard. You don't have cards in hand a lot of times. It's just the card draw is hard to come by. And the only way to get card draw, it seems, is off the back of your opponents by giving them card draw. So it's a double-edged sword. And that's why it's fun to splash colors.
Yeah. And on top, this is my first full Voltron deck, and I'm realizing that I don't think Voltron is something I like.
Hate
because it really makes you the target when you have a giant 2020 out there swinging. And then my favorite deck, and I think this is the best deck I've ever built, is my Minsk and Boo Fling deck.
Mm-hmm.
Just make big creatures with +1/+1 counters, throw it at people's faces. Most of my win con is Sandra's Ignition, blow up a giant Boo. It's my favorite deck. I love playing it.
It's quick too. It's quick, and you're a threat quickly, but you're a threat that can kind of protect yourself. Nothing's worse than being a threat, like Voltron. Yeah, you're a threat because you have a huge creature, but you only got the one creature. So if someone swings a couple of things at you, you're taking some damage. Whereas your Minsk and Buddha, I like it. You're able to go wide and make a couple of people a little tall. It's a good mix.
Yeah, really love it. But yeah, those are my current decks. So we talked for a second about the first deck I ever really built was Miram because I had bought that pre-con.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've changed it so much, and I finally got it back to Miram, but I don't play it as much. I think because I just have found new things I like and like and like. But dragons is dragons are cool.
Dragons are cool,
and tribal is fun. I like tribal. I think Commander is such a good format for it because there's so much synergy that you can pull from every set. And we just got the D&D set last year that came out a few months before I really started playing Magic, and so dragons got a lot of support.
Yes, they did.
And there's so many fucking cool dragons. That's why I went to 5-color with Tiamat. Tiamat's a badass, but got me targeted a lot.
Yeah. Well, you love dragons, I love angels, and that's the thing. So that's why I was kind of debating trying to do a 5-color angel deck, but it's just too tricky. But like you said, Commander, excellent format for tribal. I remember a friend of mine and me, we tried to do standard for a little bit when we first were getting into Magic. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do an angel tribal deck in standard, and after buying my fourth Avacyn or something, I'm like, this is bullshit, man. It's so expensive. I can't keep doing this. And then I was like, wait, Singleton? All right, no, I'm in. I could just buy one of these.
But what was the first deck you ever built, Lazz?
The first deck I built, the first deck I was playing really was it the Gerard token precon deck? Where'd that come out? 3 years ago or something like that.
This guy who makes the rhinos, right?
Yeah, when he comes out, he makes the 4/4, and then he makes copies of tokens, and it was definitely a very fun deck, but I'm a very lazy player at times, and so when you gotta keep track of, all right, well, this is a token of this is a token of this has this many counters, and starting out as a new player, it just it was very difficult. It kind of took a lot. So I played that for a little bit, but then once I got kind of hooked into Commander, that's when I was like, all right, I'm building a Kaalia deck. Kaalia of the Vast, Angel Tribal, and that was kind of the first deck that I built. And that was, I didn't do any dragons, I didn't do any demons.
Really?
No, just angels.
Wow.
It was a bad deck. It made me the threat, and it was very hard to win quickly, which is what you kind of have to do with Kalia. So I didn't get to play that as much as I wanted to, because I was either killed right away or I was just sitting there with no cards in hand. But yeah, I'd say that was the first deck that I built from scratch, bought every single card for it, and it was good, but it lost a lot.
Yeah. Well, luckily you got Giada now, and I like your Giada deck a lot. I think it plays really well.
Yeah, I think it's a better deck for what I was trying to do, because Kalia really it's a very fast play style, very aggressive play style, and also it's the kind of deck that the only times I won were when I was killing people on turn 3 and 4. You're able to get Kalia out and then Master of Cruelties out and kill someone turn 4, and it's it's fun, but then it kind of sucks too when you play with the same 4 people every night, or the same 3 other people every night, and then this one person's just sitting there for another 40 minutes as my board gets wiped and I have to rebuild, and everyone's doing their things, and you just gotta sit there with the person who you killed 40 minutes ago. So I didn't like that play style of killing someone quick and early. I think that's kind of a little bit of a problem with our current group meta, is that we stretch games out a little bit longer than they should last. Yeah. But that's quickly changing, it seems, with some of these new cards and everyone wanting to build things and kind of making our decks a little bit stronger as we go along. That maybe I'll give Kalia another shot and maybe add a dragon or a demon in there instead of just Kalia angels.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's the reason I don't play Miram as much, is because I felt like I was either getting set up in a board where I would hit and now I'm behind because Miram costs 6 mana, or I take someone out early and I feel bad that they're sitting there. Because while Commander, we all play to win, we also want to have fun.
Right.
And we want to make sure the table's having fun. And I don't want someone to be sitting there for 45 minutes salty because they didn't get to play their deck.
Yeah, or because you killed them with like I said, Kalia and Master of Cruelties. I think I hit my brother-in-law with that twice, in my time of playing Kalia. And it's a turn 4 instant kill. It just really is. And I, like you said, Commander's all about having fun. And I know people online, they make fun of the Rule 0 chat, or everyone's too nice, everyone's playing with kid gloves, you should be trying to win. Yeah, I do try to win. I'm not trying to win on turn 3. I'm not trying to win on turn 4. I want everyone. I'd rather see someone's deck do something cool than win, as fast as possible. I like when someone just has everything set up and then all of a sudden, it's like, all right, I play this card. That makes a token. When a token enters, I get to do this, and that makes me draw a card. When I draw a card, this gets a counter, which lets me that's fun when you start seeing all those combo pieces going off instead of, swinging at someone that just got an arcane signet out and they're trying to build up their mana base, and then you kill them. So I try to steer away from super fast, highly aggressive decks as much as possible.
Yeah, and speaking of super fast, we would be remiss to not talk about decks that we also have taken apart very quickly. One of mine was that CDH mono green Selvala deck. God. I played one time and went, I am so sorry.
Yeah, you pretty much locked down the table like turn 5. You had infinite mana, infinite card draw.
Yeah, I had infinite mana, infinite life, infinite card draw, and I milled everyone to death. And I was like, this was not fun. I'm very sorry. And that is why you should never be a new player and deck tech somebody on Moxfield with a cool deck list. You should really research it a little bit.
Remember, you're so excited. You're like, I built a mono green deck. I think it'll be pretty fun. And then just after 30 minutes of watching you play solitaire and you won, it was like, okay. Was it fun?
Yeah.
No. All right, well.
Yeah. I quickly took that apart and put the cards into other things. Like I have Galta and Selvala and Minsk and Boo for whenever I want to get a quick dinosaur, some good mana out. But yeah, that was a very quick disassemble because I felt bad for how it played against our group, and now I know better.
Yeah, it was fun. It was just it didn't fit the group you were playing with. I'm sure you go to a shop or something. There's definitely some pods that are playing very similar power, similar speed decks. So be fine there. It's just, but everything you build, you gotta kind of think about who you're playing it with, and it's you gotta adjust to your group meta, and that's just kind of how it goes with with a lot of that. How much interaction you're running, how stacksy your decks get. Every deck can have a little bit of stacks, but maybe your friends don't want to just sit there with a stasis or a winter orb out there and not being able to tap lands or play more than one card a turn, and you can make slight adjustments for things like that, and we'll go over that when we discuss some deck techs here, because as someone that loves to play mono white, there's a lot of cards that I just don't put into decks just because I don't feel like hearing it from my friends. And I also don't, I would hate it if someone did it to me, so I'm not going to do it to other people. But I know...
Yeah, we should say that, we're very clear with each other as a group that, like, hey, I don't like that you're playing this card. Can you maybe take it out of the deck? Like, we have no problem saying that. Sometimes we get jokey about it, but, like, I think there's definitely, like, we've all agreed on certain things not being played.
Yeah, all my Annihilator Eldrazi's came out of Animar. I'm slowly sneaking them back in, don't worry.
Yeah, I think the Eldrazi's would be okay now. I think that night that we saw them all come out really quickly, I was like, as a new player, I was like, this seems really broken, but, like, I think that was just of where I was at in the current playing.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I can look back on it and go, well, no, I just need to run better interaction.
Yeah, for the most part. But I don't really like the Eldrazi's in the deck. We're talking about decks that you built that were quickly disassembled. I think I only one I can think of that was kind of like a one-time play was Yawgmoth, Thran Physician. And I played that, and I thought it was going to be the greatest thing. I did all the research, I bought all the cards, and then this was before Spell Table, so this was playing in person, which getting a friend down from Connecticut that plays, and getting my cousin to have a free night to come over, so it was kind of a big deal to get everyone together. And then it was just me sitting there making everyone sacrifice all their creatures, putting -1 counters on all their stuff to kill it, and it got to the point where I was locking down the table, and no one was playing any creatures, because as soon as it got back to my turn, it was just everything had to get sacrificed and wiped, and it was like, it's not as much fun as I thought it was going to be. Yes, I'm winning. I think I won with that deck, but at what cost, Cody? At what cost?
At what cost, yeah.
So I broke down a lot of that stuff, and I put into Rat's Tribal, and I just have a binder of cards that are very niche for specific decks that I broke apart, and now they're just sitting there, and I'm like, I'm literally never going to use this $30 card ever again, because I bought it for this one specific thing, and I don't do that anymore. That's what we're trying to help people avoid.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely something we want to help people with. And yeah, and like similarly, like very early on, I built a Wilhelt zombie tribal because I was like, zombies are cool sounding.
Mm-hmm.
And I quickly was like, I don't like this, because I think what I wanted in my head was a reanimator deck. And instead what I got was make these 2/2 zombies that can't block and also die when they attack.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a rough deck. I've seen the deck, do well before, but
yeah,
if it's not your playstyle, it's not your playstyle,
Yeah. I think I won twice with it, and each time I got very lucky, because like I think that deck when I played it, I was just like, I was never the threat, and so like people left me alone.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with flying under the radar, man. I got a couple of wins like that under my belt.
Yeah, but I want to, I want to make big stuff. I want to hit people. I want to do cool stuff, the flashy plays. And I'm the Timmy player, and that's not what that deck was.
I agree. I've had Helm of the Host purchased for a long time, and it goes into every deck, and then it just immediately comes out because I'm like, I'm literally never going to be able to get infinite combats with it, no matter how much I try, no matter how much I tutor it up, just not gonna happen. So the big fancy plays are fun, but it's not always the most efficient. If there's a way to tutor it up or something like that, but it's few and far between those big splashy plays for me, it seems.
Yeah, and definitely something I want to use this podcast for is also just to explore different play styles, because I would like to find not an infinite combo, but a combo deck where you play a card, they keep going and keep going and keep going, and stuff happens on the board.
Mm-hmm.
I think a ping deck would be fun, but I want to do a fun ping deck. I don't want to do one that sits there and once a turn does something and then doesn't do anything until the next turn. I've looked at Niv Mizzet Perun, and been like, that seems fun. It's in 2 colors that I love green. Green is my favorite color. Black's my second favorite. It's in 2 that I'm kind of iffy on if I could actually run and feel good playing, but I want to give it a shot maybe one day. And so maybe that's a deck that'll come out in one of these deck techs. But
yeah,
I definitely think
I already know one of my decks I want to explore here. And like I said, I don't like blue. I'm not a big blue fan. But one of the decks is a mono blue deck. It's I think I was showing you too, and it seems fun, and it seems like I'd be able to play it in a way that's not very counter spelly for for the group, and that's kind of thing, like you said, to explore different play styles and kind of expose other people to different play styles. So if someone's like, oh well, I like equipment, I'm a Voltron player, and then after hearing us talk, maybe they'll be like, hey, you know what, that token deck actually sounded like it'd be really cool, and it didn't seem as complicated as I thought a token deck would be, so maybe give it a shot. So and what, so every deck that we're going to be talking about, I figure we'll put a deck list up on Moxfield or something.
We'll have it built up on Moxfield. It'll be in the description of every show, and we'll post it on Twitter, which our Twitter is at Brew It or Screw It. So you can give us a follow there if you'd like. And we'll make sure everyone can see it. I think once we kind of get some episodes under our feet, we'll start doing video formats of this.
Okay. Everyone can see our handsome faces.
Yeah, everyone see our handsome faces. But yeah.
Yeah, I figure eventually, be able to do that, and then once people kind of start subscribing, hopefully, fingers crossed, and listen to what we say, then maybe people can start even sending in hey, I know you guys usually talk about decks that you're currently thinking about, but I'm really thinking about doing this one particular commander. Do you think you'd be able to do a breakdown? And definitely that's something we could do, because as creative as we are and as many decks as we have on the back burner, there's so many legendary creatures out there. There's so many commanders that some that you don't even know exist. I like to go on EDH Rec and just hit the random commander button sometimes when we're playing and someone's taking a 14-minute turn on spell table. I just like to click that a couple times, I've never seen this. What would you even do with this card? What would you even do with this commander? And it gets you thinking. So if anyone listens and they have any ideas or suggestions or deck techs that they kind of want a primer on, then by all means, tag us or contact us or whatever. And that's definitely something we could eventually do in the future.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else, Lazz?
No, I think that's pretty much it. We kind of just covered who we are, how we play, and all the mistakes that we've made. And hopefully going forward, we can help ourselves avoid those mistakes and help other people avoid wasting money buying cards for decks that they're never going to want to play again.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I got a whole box full of them. So, yeah.
Same.
But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. We are aiming to have the first episode which will be Lazz's deck choice.
What?
Up in March. Oh, I thought we agreed on this already.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Oh,
we're doing it on the fly. Should be up in March. So yeah, look forward to it. You can follow us on Twitter at Brew It or Screw It. I'm at Cody Redmoon on Twitter. Lazz doesn't have a Twitter yet. But,
Not yet. I will, though.
so if you want to follow me there, you can find me tweeting about video games and other nerdy shit that I talk about. But yeah. So until next time, should you say brew it?
Or screw it.